Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter code IMPACT at checkout. That's harrys.com, code IMPACT. Enjoy.
Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
$162 games later, 100 losses later, the Cincinnati Reds season is officially over. Over! And now it's completely football season, at least for us here in Reds country. And I don't think it's been Reds country for a while. But, nonetheless, we welcome you in. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station. Mr. Kev Nash, welcome. Happy Thursday.
What up, Doe?
Off and rolling here on a Thursday. Got a lot to get into. We talked about the Reds wrapping up the 2022 season for them yesterday. I mean, it really was, they never say the Reds never play in October. They technically were playing in October. And they set a historic mark yesterday for the second time in only 40 years. In the last 40 years, the Reds have lost 100 baseball games. We have, in my 32 years of life, I have not witnessed a lot of winning amongst Reds baseball, but we haven't experienced any in my lifetime 100 lost seasons until year number 32 for my time here on Earth. So there you go. Thank you, Cincinnati Reds.
Ouch.
62 and 100, the final record for the Cincinnati Reds.
Nice round numbers.
I mean, that's why yesterday, when the Reds were sitting at 62 and 99 or whatever, I was like, I was hoping they would lose. I was actually going for I never cheered against the Reds, but I was actually really, really hoping that the Cincinnati Reds would have lost yesterday, mainly because I wanted that just to even 62 and 100 mark. Like, you know what I mean? 63 and 99. That's a weird record. My OCD kicks in. I want 62 wins, 100 losses. But we'll talk about that with the Hall of Famer, Hal Mccoy, coming up here just a few moments from now, here in under a half hour, about 20 minutes. We'll hear from the Hall of Famer, Hal Mccoy. All right. So we're going to keep it right here. One, both, or neither is what we kick off the show with here today, Kev. I'll throw out a scenario. We'll throw out the two individuals or the two programs at hand. NFL, college football. We'll start in the world of college football. We'll start with the Ohio State Buckeyes a little bit, right? It was announced that Trevion Henderson will make his return coming up this weekend, and the Buckeyes match up against Michigan State. Now, there seems to be, we talk so much about quarterback battles, but we might have a little mini running back battle going on. Trevion Henderson has not really taken that major leap from one season to the next. In fact, the running back for Ohio State that has taken a major leap for the Buckeyes has been Mayan Williams. He's been absolutely dominant for the Buckeyes this season. Trevion Henderson is coming back 1 week after Mayan Williams, of course, had that 189-yard performance with 5 touchdowns, tying, of course, Pete Johnson and Keith Byers' total touchdown record in the game. Trevion Henderson's coming back, Kev. So, rushing for 100 yards versus Michigan State. Trevion Henderson, Mayan Williams. Will one of them rush for 100 yards against Michigan State? Will both of them rush for 100 yards against Michigan State? Or will neither of them rush for 100 yards against Michigan State? What say you?
Both.
You say both.
Have you seen that Sparty defense? Sparty defense is giving up points left and right. Unless Coach Day is trying to get busy with the passing game, you can basically name your score offensively with the way Michigan State has been playing defense. Not only the way they're playing defense this year, the way they played defense last year as well. Everybody remembers that game from last year. They jumped out 28-0, and that was all she wrote. Last week's game was such a workmanlike effort from the Buckeyes. CJ Stroud only throwing for 100, like 150 yards. But guess what? When you got a running back just breaking tackles left and right, scoring 5 touchdowns, you don't need to throw the ball. I think the Buckeyes jump out early again, and then they're able to ground and pound most of the second half, and both running backs go over 100 yards.
Yeah, and it's funny because CJ Stroud, what was the final total for him as far as total yards? I think it was like 140 something.
Yeah.
And by the way, for those of you who want to spin it and say, man, he didn't have a good game. No. He had a fantastic game. You know why he had a fantastic game? It's because that's exactly what was needed of him. Keep this in mind. If Ryan Day wanted C.J. Stroud to throw for over 400 yards, they would have called the plays and run the offense designed for him to throw over 400 yards. Like, that's how deadly Ohio State is. They are not one-dimensional. They can literally run the ball down your throat and beat you by 50, or they could throw it through the air and beat you by 50. That's what makes Ohio State the most dangerous and explosive team in college football. So the Ohio State Buckeyes, as we currently sit here, they have Michigan State coming up 4 o'clock on Saturday. They are 27-point favorites. So the one, both, or neither we threw out. Rushing for 100 yards against Michigan State, TreVeyon Henderson and Mayan Williams. One, both, or neither. I'm going to say both as well, Kev, and for the reasons I just talked about, how they dominated last week against Rutgers, I think it's going to be by design. I think it's important. I think Ryan Day knows the importance of, we could flip that switch in the pass game anytime we want. We've seen C.J. Stroud just absolutely look dominant, even without his top wide receiver in Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think they know that it's going to be important that when you get later into the season, whether the as the temperatures are dropping and as the opponents pick up, you may not be able to dominate as much one way or another, and it's very important to balance that pass attack with the run game. We know Mayan Williams is rolling. I think it's very important to get TreVeyon Henderson rolling as well. So I think it's going to be, I think they're going to make a point of it to make sure that both running backs get as many carries as possible. That way they could both dominate, both get over 100 yards, and both just take that momentum into the bye week. So TreVeyon Henderson, Mayan Williams, rushing for 100 yards versus Michigan State, one, both, or neither. I agree with you, Kev. I say both as well.
I just want to jump on to that point real quick. Another thing that they're working on is being physical. Everything that we heard from Ohio State about how disappointing last season is that we weren't physical enough. Wasn't physical at the point of attack, not only on defense, but with the running game as well. You look back at that Michigan game last year, they were unable to convert a lot of third down, short yardage situations with the run game. I think Coach Day is making it a point to make sure this team is physical. Obviously, week 1, week 2, but now it's starting to get going. People are starting to get their mojo going. Running backs are starting to hit those holes. And you know what they're starting to do? They're starting to run the plays that are picking up those yards. So people are starting to get in their groove, not just the running backs, but the offensive line, bringing that physicality to the offensive line. And you know what? That only makes the team more deadly. I know we love the high flying over the top 50-yard plays, hitting the wide receivers, streaking across the field. But you know what makes those plays a lot easier? If you can play action, show the ball to the running back, those linebackers and safeties come screaming down to try to stop the run. And then you get these great wide receivers that Ohio State have wide open or one-on-one with DBs, and they're going to win most of the time. So I love the physicality that the offensive line and the running backs are bringing.
Again, one, both, or neither. TreVeyon Henderson, Mayan Williams, sorry.
A combination. Oh, goodness.
That's what the Buckeyes are probably hoping for. But this coming up Saturday in the game against Michigan State, rushing for 100 yards against Michigan State, TreVeyon Henderson, Mayan Williams. Will one of them rush for 100 yards? Will both of them rush for 100 yards? Or will neither of them rush for 100 yards? We're live on Facebook in the chat section. Let us know what you think. One, both, or neither. Moving on now to the NFL. We'll move on to the NFL and the Cincinnati Bengals Sunday Night Football, their showdown with the Baltimore Ravens. A big one here, of course, is right now the AFC North, as pretty much all conferences and divisions right now in the NFL, we really don't know who's who right now. I don't know. We think we know who the top teams are. The Eagles are 4-0, but I don't know how dangerous they actually are over a 17-game season. With all the talk about right now Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles, how hot they are to start, how good he's been to start. Keep in mind, I'm going to label it right now. My hot take is the Eagles are the 2022 version of what last year's Arizona Cardinals were. Remember when we had Kyler Murray, who was an MVP frontrunner 8 weeks into the season. The Cardinals were the best team in the NFL 8 weeks into the season, and things didn't end well. I think that's going to be what happens to the Eagles here. So we don't really know who's the top teams. We know who has the top rosters, but we've yet to see the top rosters really start to deliver. So as we currently sit here right now, the Ravens and the Bengals, two teams that had a lot of expectations coming in. The Bengals have won back-to-back games. They believe that they are back. The Ravens, they're in games, but they've had some funky finishes over the last couple of weeks, but they're also 2-2, along with the Browns, along with the Bengals, and pretty much 80% of the AFC is 2-2 at this point. So a big one coming up on Sunday. I said that the Bengals earlier in the week, if Joe Mixon does not have a 100-yard game against the Ravens, they will not win this football game. It doesn't matter if Joe Burrow's back. It doesn't matter if the pass game is clicking on all cylinders. If they can't run the football effectively, they are not going to be as good as what people have anticipated them to be. So, Kev, Joe Mixon has yet to rush for 100 yards this season. In fact, total yards for him on the season right now, 224 rushing yards on 82 carries. He has one touchdown. All right. He's rushed for 61 yards, 24 yards, 57 yards, and 82 yards. Lamar Jackson has rushed for 316 total yards on the season on half of those. On 37 carries, he also has 2 touchdowns. So in the matchup, Sunday Night Football, the Bengals against the Ravens. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, Bengals running back Joe Mixon, rushing for over 100 yards in their Sunday night showdown. Will one of them rush for 100 yards? Will both of them rush for 100 yards? Or will neither of them rush for 100 yards?
Neither are going to rush for 100 yards. The Bengals, in my opinion, they still need to try to run the ball, but have you seen the Ravens secondary? I mean, I know that Waddle and Tyreek Hill are the fastest guys in the NFL, but the guys that the Bengals have ain't too shabby either. And then you look at what Buffalo was able to do to them in the second half in the rain. Look, man, everybody expected the Baltimore Ravens pass defense to be fixed because people are back from injury, but it ain't. It's slim pickings out there, man. Me and you could go out there and get 60. Like, I would pass the ball like crazy if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, I wouldn't, not that I would go air raid or anything like that, Mike Leach, but I'm passing quite a bit, especially if I feel like I can protect Joe Burrow in the passing game. And then everything with Lamar, I don't think outside of his MVP year, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember him busting open one of those long runs against the Cincinnati Bengals in recent past. So I'm going to go with neither go for over 100 yards.
I say one goes for 100 yards. And for some of the reasons you talked about, I think Lamar rushes for over 100 yards. The Bengals defense has been really, really good, but so far, but they also haven't played an offense yet that puts the pressure on them. I also like the secondary for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I don't know how much of the pass game. Look, Lamar, but despite the fact that he throws for a lot of touchdowns, he hasn't been airing it out all season. So I don't think he's going to air it out on the Cincinnati Bengals defense. And I think that right there, with them taking that away, that's going to force him to have to make plays with his legs. And I think that's what he's going to do. I think Lamar goes over 100 against the Cincinnati Bengals. I think Joe Mixon, the reason he's going to struggle going for 100 yards against the Ravens is because of the fact that the Ravens' biggest weakness is their secondary. I think that's going to be the main focus. I'm really curious where the Bengals are, or how they're going to focus on this game this weekend. Are they going to really focus on getting the run game going at the expense of taking advantage of the weak secondary that the Baltimore Ravens have? I'm curious to see how they start. Is there blood in the water? Is Joe Burrow in this offense, they just want to set the tone and just attack the Ravens deep and just focus on the pass game early? Or are they going to see the more so the big picture and the importance of getting Joe Mixon some carries early, kind of like what we saw against Denver on Thursday night? But I don't think Joe Mixon has not played well. And I think a lot of it has to do with the scheme. He's not seeing his open holes whenever they pop up open for him. I think Lamar rushes for 100 against the Bengals. I think Joe Mixon continues to struggle just because I think that, again, the offensive line was patched together to help Joe Burrow. And I think they did that at the expense of the run game. We'll see if Pollock and company is able to kind of recreate some of the magic they've done in the run game over the last couple of years. On to the next one. We have Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy coming up here around the corner. So we move on to the next one here, Kev. Future Big Ten football teams, UCLA. Okay, we have UCLA and USC. They'll be in action this coming up Saturday. UCLA against Utah. UCLA is undefeated. UCLA is not getting a lot of attention right now. I think if they were an SEC team, everyone would be drooling over them. But the Big Ten's struggling right now. I mean, the Big Ten's the only conference to fire 2 head coaches, not even at the halfway point of the season yet. That's how bad the Big Ten has been this year. Looking at future Big Ten teams, undefeated UCLA, undefeated USC, both in action this weekend, not against one another. UCLA has Utah. USC has Washington State. Future Big Ten football teams, UCLA and USC, will both remain undefeated after this weekend? Will one remain undefeated after this weekend, or will neither remain undefeated after this weekend, Kev?
Only one. Only USC will remain undefeated. Okay. I still got a love thing for the guys out there in Utah. I love the fact that their quarterback, Cam Rising. I love the running back, Travion Thomas, right here in Dayton, Ohio. I love that offensive line. I love their defense. You know, they had the hiccup earlier in the season down in the swamp, first game of the season, but I still got the Utes winning the Pac-12. So in order for them to do that, they got to go ahead and take care of business versus UCLA.
I want to say both. I want to say that both remain undefeated. I like Chip Kelly, and I like what the UCLA Bruins are doing. But USC's gonna, so one for sure. USC's winning this weekend. They got Washington State. They're like a double-digit favorite in that one. USC wins that one this coming up weekend. UCLA and Utah, that's actually one game I have circled. I'm really intrigued by that. And I think, this is the test for UCLA. I think they win this game. I think everyone's going to be big believers in UCLA and Chip Kelly at this point and the Pac-12. But this is also another big opportunity for Utah to fix what happened in week 1 when they lost to Florida. At the time, we're like, that could be a forgivable loss. Florida doesn't look so hot right now. It looks less forgivable, but they can make up for it if they beat UCLA, an undefeated top 25 UCLA team. But I want to talk it into existence. I want the Big Ten. I want teams to be good heading into the Big Ten to start help carrying this weak conference right now that somehow tricked these TV networks into spending big dollars, Kev. I'm going to say both. I think both are undefeated after this coming up weekend.
I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind
it either. Yeah.
If UCLA and USC were undefeated going into their matchup at the end of the season, because you would get a back-to-back matchup because in the Pac-12, they're smart and they decided to get rid of conference or divisions. Just the best teams play in the Big 12 championship game. So you would get a back-to-back UCLA USC matchup in that if both teams are undefeated come November.
I don't know what's happening in the chat section. I just read a comment that said Kinner is a different breed. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what y'all are talking about. I haven't been paying attention. Probably a good thing. It's too early in the day. In the show. Not early in the day. It's too early in the show to get my blood pressure up. Last one here, one, both, or neither on the way out, Kev. Simple as this. The Browns, the Bengals. The Browns have the Chargers, 2.5-point dogs, but they have them at home. I'm going to be in Cleveland on Sunday watching this one. Cannot wait. The Bengals have the Ravens on the road at Baltimore. Sunday Night Football. Browns, Bengals picking up a victory in week 5. One, both, or neither?
Both win. Both are going to win this weekend. You got Justin Herbert and the Chargers coming out to Cleveland. But guess what? Justin Herbert doesn't play defense, and half their defense is on the IR, and their defense is terrible against the run. So look for Nick Chubb to go for over $160 rushing that ball with the Cleveland Browns. And I think that the fact that it's going to be a shootout on Sunday night, this is going to be like one of those classic Big 12 games back when RG3 was playing at Baylor, like versus Oklahoma, where it's like 45-42. That's what I'm expecting on Sunday night with the Bengals and Ravens. So get ready for that. But I think the Bengals win on Sunday night at Baltimore, and the Browns win at home versus the Chargers on Sunday afternoon.
I think that the Browns win. I think that the Bengals lose. However, I'm not that confident that the Browns win. I'm very close to saying neither win on Sunday night. On Sunday, I should say. I'm very close to picking neither team. If you ask me right now, I have to be honest and say neither team. I need to see the final injury report for the Browns before heading in to Sunday. Because if they have their defensive line back, I'm picking the Browns. I'll be confident in my pick. But you talked about the Chargers being one of the worst teams against the run. Well, guess what? The Steelers were the worst team in the NFL against the run. The Browns did well there. And then you look at the Falcons, who they just lost to. The Falcons were the second worst team against the run. And they ran the ball well. And they still lost because the problem is in the offense. I believe that the Browns could run the ball on the Chargers. I think that Jacoby Brissett can move the ball against the Chargers, especially the banged-up Chargers. I am not confident that even with the banged-up offense that the Chargers have, I'm not confident that this defense can stop Justin Herbert and what's ever left of that offense, especially since Marcus Mariota and the Falcons just carved it up this past Friday. He only needed 7. If Marcus Mariota only needed 7 pass completions to beat this Browns beat-up defense, I don't even, you know what I mean? Like, what the heck is going to happen with Justin Herbert? I need to see the final injury report. So as of right now, I'm going to change it. The Browns lose on Sunday unless they have Myles Garrett and company. I'm picking the Browns to lose. The Bengals are not winning. This is the first time they're going to face a legitimate starting quarterback. Lamar's going to run all over him. Lamar's going to do what he does. And the Bengals, I keep seeing in the chat section, they have a top 5 defense. I would hope when you face Mitch Trubisky, I would hope that when you played Cooper Rush, I would hope that, you continue to go down the list. You played Joe Flacco, and you just played the backup quarterback for the Dolphins. I would hope that statistically speaking, when you play 4 straight backup quarterbacks, that your defense can somehow shape what is a top 5 looking defense. So I think both lose as of right now. So I see the final injury report for the Browns, both teams. Sorry, Ohio. Luckily we got the Buckeyes because both teams are losing on Sunday.
I think we all can agree on that with Go Bucks.
You agree both will lose? That's all I need to hear. Kev's a hater. Hey,
I got both teams winning.
Speaking of teams losing in the state of Ohio, let's talk Reds, shall we? The Hall of Famer, Hal McCoy. He joins us next.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's time for
Well, he's practically a member of the family.
based on the true story
He gets these impulsive moods.
from the executive producer of The Acting Candy.
He will lie and manipulate to get the only thing he wants.
Where is Jan? Where is she?
Your husband kidnapped her.
Hello?
A friend of the family.
Everything I did was to get closer to you.
Streaming now only on Peacock.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Service Manager at Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, recipient of Honda's President's Award. When your vehicle needs service, we make it convenient. Open 6 days a week, including all day Saturday. We also welcome same-day appointments and walk-ins as well. Our technicians are factory trained, and we offer a new state-of-the-art facility, clean waiting rooms, loaner cars, and free alignment checks as well. Ask for the $99.95 alignment special. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Yo, Pablo Torre here, host of the ESPN Daily Podcast. When you want to go beyond your feed, when you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Pablo Torre. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. A bottle of Gum Out Fuel Injector Cleaner can clean your entire system and help your engine get more MPGs. Right now, you can get 2 bottles for only $7. A great deal to help you go a good deal farther. Find Gum Out Fuel Injector Cleaner and everything you need for better fuel efficiency at any of our 6,200 stores.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Need to visit the Ohio BMV? Go online first. It could save you a trip. It's now easier and more convenient than ever to get what you need from the BMV online. Need to renew your driver's license? Renew online. And if you need to renew your vehicle registration, visit one of our new BMV Express kiosks or go online. If you do need to visit a BMV agency, use the Get in Line online tool, also found on the website, to save your spot and minimize your time waiting. For more services available online, check out bmv.ohio.gov.
The best audio entertainment this fall is on Audible. It's the home of storytelling with audiobooks, exclusive originals, popular podcasts, and more. All in one app. Sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com. And upgrade today.
Make the big game sound even bigger with your new TV and sound system from Audio Etc. There is nothing better than a home theater or high-fidelity music system from Audio Etc. 4K is amazing, but just imagine the 8K experience. Come to Audio Etc's crazy cool showroom today and experience 8K TVs and projectors, short throw projectors from 100-inch to 130-inch, all the way to your high-end dream system. Audio Etc has tons of new inventory in stock, while everybody else is back-ordered or out of stock. Get special deals on a TV and your dream system today. Audio Etc can bring any big game home. It's better than being there. You have to see it to believe the incredible quality of the picture and sound. If you can't afford your dream system, check out our huge selection of vintage and pre-owned components. Audio Etc, powered by Klipsch, Bowers & Wilkins, SVS, Marantz, Denon, Sony, and a whole list of high-performance brands that you've probably never heard of. 551 Congress Park Drive in Centerville.
Audio Etc's crazy cool showroom.
All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
You are listening to the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We are Dayton's radio home of the Cincinnati Reds, and as my gift to you, we're going to give your ears a rest for maybe a month or two. The Reds season, mercifully, it's over. It's over. 162 games, 62 wins, 100 losses, and I think it's the first time since 1982 that they lost 100 games. And I admitted this earlier, Kev. I never root for my team to lose, but I have OCD at times. And seeing the Reds with 62 and 99, I 63 and 99. You've worked so hard to lose 90 plus games. Just cap it off with an even 100, right? Just cap it off with an even 100. So there's that. All right. Yes, the Cincinnati Reds, we could put, maybe you kind of got to let this postseason breathe a little bit and kind of figure out what's next for the Reds and what is next for the Reds. Figured that'd be a good time to bring on our next guest. He's the Hall of Famer, Mr. Hal Mccoy. Hal, it's been a while, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Justin. And how about you?
Not too bad. Excited to have you on this afternoon. I don't know about you, but yesterday, you just heard it. The Reds, 62 wins, 99 losses. They had one more game against the Cubs. I'm like, you've lost 99 already. What's one more? You might as well just make it an even 100 losses. You've covered this team a long, long time. And finally, another 100-loss season. A lot of losing within that time, but you're shocked that they lost 100 games this season.
Yeah, it may be heresy on my part, but I agreed with you. When they had 97 losses with 3 games left, or 99 with 3 games left with the Cubs, I told my wife, I hope they lose one of these games because make it a nice round 100. It just kind of exemplifies the season. 99, okay, they lost 99. They've done that 7 other times in the last 9 years. Let's just make it 100. But you know what? When they started out the season 3-22, I thought there was a good chance they might break the New York Mets record and lose more than 120. So there is that positive. They didn't lose 120.
Well, we'll get to the positive side of this 100-loss season in a moment. But so basically, it's a good segue into my next question, Hal. You said it could have been worse, and they could have lost 120 games. It could have been historically bad from a Major League Baseball perspective. But Hal, just from a Reds perspective, I mean, there's been a lot of losing seasons. This is only the second time in 40 years they've lost 100 games. But think back to how it started with the "where are you going to go" comments by Reds president and CEO, of course, Phil Castellini, and just the fans revolted and backlash. I mean, just one of the worst attended seasons in the history of Reds baseball. Where are you at in classifying this season as maybe the worst season in Reds history, or is it safe to put it in that category? How would you grade this season as far as that perspective goes?
Somebody asked me that for my Ask How column a couple of weeks ago. And I said that the 2015 team was the worst team that I can remember. Brian Price team, I think they lost 98, and it was just a terrible team. But the 82 team and this year's team, very similar. The 82 team had some good pitching led by Mario Soto and a couple other good guys in the rotation, but they couldn't hit. And that's exactly the way this Reds team was they had good young pitching, which is something good for the future with those three young guys who showed so much promise, but they just could not hit. They could not. They got beat 15-2 yesterday in the final game. They left the bases loaded 3 times without scoring. If that doesn't exemplify the entire season, and nothing does. So yes, I've changed my mind. This year was the worst team that I have covered since 1973.
Wow, we have Reds Hall of Famer, or we have Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy covered the Cincinnati Reds, hanging out with us here on the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash. It's interesting. You talk about that 2015 season being so poor. Reds fans weren't happy then, but at least they felt like, okay, the organization's onto something. That rebuild was bad. That was not a good rebuild. No one panned out real well. Jesse Winker, of course, but we saw what happened with him before the season started. I hate to be this guy. People always think I'm just trying to be positive because the Reds are forcing me to. That's not the case here. But like when you look at this, what had happened, they traded, they blew this thing up before it was too late. If they're going to blow it up, you may as well blow it up while there's still at least some stock to some of these guys. And they were able to maximize a lot of the trade talent for these guys. I know it's hard to be optimistic about this team, but did you see any positives that Reds fans could take away as far as what this team did to set themselves up for the future? I like Jonathan India, love Tyler Stevenson, Hunter Green, obviously, and Graham Ashcraft and Nick Lodolo. Like they have a better foundation heading into this rebuild than what they did the last rebuild. Is there any reason Reds fans should try to be optimistic, or did Reds ownership really damper that with those comments to start the season?
Well, I see you're more optimistic than I am because, they made all those trades, trade all their veteran players, all their name players, and got a whole bunch of prospects, which are highly rated. But I always call prospects suspects before they produce. All those guys, most of those guys played in A and AA this year. So they're not ready. They won't be ready for a couple of years, if then, to show up on the major league roster. So, for the next couple of years, I don't see much hope. You named all the players that I thought were, decent players, major league players, but most of the roster that they put out there after they made all those deals were utility players and backup players, not regular everyday players. And they run Jose Barrero out there every day and Aquino out there every day. Those guys have been given ample opportunity to show what they can do, and they just don't show any signs of being great ball players. So I'm not very optimistic for the next couple of years, but maybe 3 or 4 years down the road, if those prospects turn out to be good players, and if they make some other deals, they're going to have to add some more into the mix to make this team at least competitive.
Hal, I had to think of our good friend Mark Schlemmer when you pulled the prospects or suspects line, because that was one of his famous go-tos on the show.
I think he stole that from me.
Yes, I think. Yeah. Well, he used it well. So.
Yes.
Your thoughts on David Bell? You talked about that 2015 team with Brian Price. One thing that Schlemmer and I would always go back and forth on all the time was, when he would talk about how bad Brian Price was, and to Schlemmer's, and in his defense, he managed baseball. He sees the game differently than I ever will. But he talked about how bad Brian Price was. I was like, well, I'm not saying he's good, but I think it's kind of hard to dictate who's good and bad when you have a roster that's that bad, like in 15. Same thing here with David Bell. The Reds moved on from Brian Price pretty quickly. What's the future of David Bell? Is he comfortable right now? Are the Reds comfortable with him knowing that, hey, we didn't expect you to win, so we're not going to hold the losses against you type of thing?
Yeah, I think they are. Plus the fact, he's got his father, Buddy Bell, in the front office, kind of holding down the fort for him too. But it's, you're only as good a manager as the players you can put on the field. And Bell did his best. They used 66 different players, 35 different pitchers, and he used them all, and he gave them all their chances. Everybody got playing time. It just didn't work out, and I can't blame him. I think that he'll probably be back for at least next year.
How I root for the team in Cleveland, the Guardians. Do the Reds feel any pressure from seeing the Guardians' success, since they do have like the third lowest payroll in MLB? Do the Reds feel any pressure from the Guardians, like from their fan base?
I'm with you, Kevin. I was born and raised in Akron, and I've been a big Cleveland fan all my life, both The Indians, they're not the Guardians to me if that's politically incorrect. If that's politically incorrect, just shoot me. But anyway, I am pulling hard for them, and I don't think the Reds really pay much attention to that. The Bengals had great success last year and kind of grabbed away a lot of attention, and that didn't stop the Reds from doing what they did and becoming non-competitive. So it's nice to at least have one Ohio team that knows how to do it right now.
What do you think about the game starting at noon tomorrow? I mean, it is the playoffs, and I understand that they had to get the West Coast games in as late as possible. But I mean, I was talking to my dad, and he can't even go to the game because he has to work because it's at noon.
Yeah, people have to go to work, and kids are going to school. But television rules. They tell Major League Baseball what time games will start, and they want to spread them out so they can get them all on TV. And so Cleveland and Tampa Bay end up playing at noon. I got a noon luncheon date that I set up quite a while ago, and I want to watch the game. I'm going to have to DVR it and tell people to keep their mouths shut and catch up on it when I get home.
Just cancel like I would do.
Yeah. I just might do that. I may come down with a bad headache.
Yes. Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy with this year. Hal, outside of the Reds just being absolutely abysmal this year, you talk about the team in Cleveland, the Indians or the Guardians, however you call them. They're in the playoffs, of course, but another big storyline or two big storylines in baseball. Let's start with Albert Pujols. I've created a lot of, I've lost a lot of friends because I'm not the biggest Joey Votto fan in the world. It's not that I'm against Joey Votto, but I just think as Reds fans, our standards are low. While we get excited about our potential future Hall of Fame first baseman appearing in the broadcast booth, I'm watching Albert Pujols do legitimate things for the game right now, and I'm just laughing at what Reds fans get excited about with Joey Votto while watching what Albert Pujols is doing and just, finalizing his career in historic fashion. Are you surprised by what we're seeing from Albert Pujols, who, when I saw that he had re-signed with the Cardinals in the offseason, that this was kind of just like a little swan song, a little farewell to the fans? This has been the farewell to the fans, and I can't think of a better farewell storyline than Albert Pujols has experienced here for the Cardinals.
Yeah, absolutely. And when they signed Pujols, I wrote that, and I got a whole bunch of feedback from people in St. Louis after Pujols started doing what he was doing. But he's about the same age as Joey, and look what he's doing. Of course, Joey was hurt, and we'll give him that. But I'm like you. I'm not a big Joey Votto fan, but I am a huge Albert Pujols fan. And I'll tell you what else. I hate the designated hitter. But I'll give it a pass this year because without the designated hitter, Pujols wouldn't have been able to do what he's doing. So I'm glad they had it in the National League this year so that he could do what he did.
You know how Aaron Judge, he hit 62 home runs, and Kenner and I were having this discussion the other day about who really has the home run record. Does Barry Bonds have it? Does Aaron Judge have it? Who has the home run record in your eyes?
Well, Barry Bonds has the record, but I think Aaron Judge has it legitimately. Let's put it that way. I mean, they're not going to take Barry Bonds out of the record book. They're not going to take Mark McGwire out of what he did or Sammy Sosa of what he did. But Aaron Judge did it legitimately. And he also did it this year when they kind of changed the baseball a little bit and made it so it wasn't so hot. And Judge hit 62 home runs and did it the right way. So in my mind, he is the all-time leader, but Bonds and McGwire and Sosa are in the record books, and they're not going to take them out.
How's it weird that with baseball being so home run centric, that this is the first time in what I feel like 15 years, 20 years since the last time we saw a guy like chase a record like this, or at least flirt with the record like this. I could be missing a season in that stretch I just gave you, but it's like I've enjoyed this Aaron Judge run, but all it's done is just remind me of how fun baseball used to be with multiple guys. Maybe it was because of the juice, maybe it was because of the steroids, but that was such a fun era in baseball, and that's the era I grew up with. Are you surprised that as baseball, which is so home run centric now, that we haven't seen more seasons like what we've seen right now with Aaron Judge?
Yeah, it is kind of curious. What I saw happen was that the guys who don't hit that many home runs hit more home runs than usual. You had a lot more guys hitting home runs, but you didn't have guys hitting these great totals like Judge did. And actually, Judge is the only guy doing it this year. I mean, he finished like 20 home runs ahead of the nearest guy. So he is kind of in a class by himself this year. But yeah, it is kind of strange that we haven't had that when they had the lively ball.
All right, Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy. Hal, thank you so much. It was great hearing from you. We'll touch base here, as we get further into the playoffs. Real quick, I saw that at Aganis the other day that Tom Brenneman was the speaker there. What was your experience there, if you're allowed? How's Tom doing? And do you think he'll be getting back into broadcasting anytime soon?
Tom was great. Many of the Aganis Club members said it was the best speaker we ever had. He was great. He was forthright about the problem he had, and he made no bones about the fact that he wants to get back into broadcasting, but every time he calls somebody, he hears one word, and it's no. I would love to see him get back into it, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, and Tom, he lost so much, obviously lost his job, but you see how the reshifting of all the media rights deals and the guys, like obviously, Monday Night Football with Troy Aikman and Buck and all of these positions that opened up. I mean, it's just, you hate to think about what could have been, about what positions he could have had, because I think he's one of the top ones out there. So it's unfortunate, but it'll be interesting to see what the future holds for him. That's for sure.
Yeah, I wish him the best because he's a great guy, both on the mic and off the mic.
All right, Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy. Hal, thank you so much, sir. Great hearing from you. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys. Anytime, and go Tribe.
Yes, sir.
I was going to ask him about the Browns, but I figured I'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that. All right, good stuff from the Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy, the way he worded that about Aaron Judge and Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds is the record holder. I mean, that's about as honest of an answer as you get. It's not even honest. It was a very easy answer. He worded it the way we should have. Well, yeah, Barry Bonds, he's the record holder, but I guess technically Aaron Judge did it the clean way, right? So that makes him the real one there. I don't know how you want to view it, but 518-1410. Appreciate Hal Mccoy. The phone lines are open. 518-1410. Give us a call. Your thoughts on Barry Bonds, your thoughts on Aaron Judge. Of course, the conversation we had about Albert Pujols and Joey Votto, and anything he said about the Cincinnati Reds. We'll be right back.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Sign-on bonus, paid over 18 months, paid or...
for exciting rewards like tools, grills, Lowe's gift cards, and more. Join Lowe's MVP's Pro Rewards today to start earning. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Subject to program terms. While supplies last. Visit Lowe's.com/MVP's bonus points for details. Now through 10/28.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the
House. Subs, sports, spirits, Submarine House. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. And there's many ways you can take in the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, as I talked about, live on 1410 Wing AM, or streaming live at wingam.com. So interesting. We just had the Hall of Famer Hal Mccoy on talking about the Reds. And, you know, the easy thing to do is to beat up on the Reds, but there's one guy I will never argue Reds baseball with, and that's the guy that we just talked to, because he has, Hal McCoy's life has been the Cincinnati Reds. So he kind of knows the ebbs and flows of this better than anybody out there. I've been a baseball fan my entire life. I think I know how this is going to go, but I think it's more my fandom speaking than anything else. I feel like I'm critical of all teams. I feel like I try to be as down the middle as I can for everything. I just picked the Browns to lose earlier. For everyone out there that says I'm just a Browns homer, I'm like, no, I don't feel good about their chances against the Chargers. If they couldn't stop Marcus Mariota in the Falcons, what makes you think that why would I think that they have a chance to slow down the Chargers? Now, again, they get back their defensive line. That's one thing. But my point is I call it how I see it. It is what it is. And with this Reds team, this was a horrible year. And I think that it's one of those things where the organization does not deserve the fan base to give them the benefit of the doubt. That's why I'm very interested to see, as we have Reds Fest coming up here in a few months. We'll be live out at Reds Fest. I'm very curious to see, because the Reds, they usually try to do something big, whether it be a move, a signing, or whatever, before to kind of create buzz and excitement heading into Reds Fest. Is that in the plans for the Reds? What do you do if you're the Reds? You just lost 100 games this year. One thing I want to go and look up, and I don't have that readily available at my fingertips here. What's the biggest turnaround from one season to the next in baseball? Like, we see it all the time. We see the Bengals win 6 games in 2 years and they're in the Super Bowl. They win 4 games one year and they're in the Super Bowl the next, right? We see it all the time. NBA, you can go and you can get LeBron, you can get D-Wade, Chris Bosh, and you go from being a mid-tier to 7 and 8 seed playoff team to 4 straight NBA finals, 2 NBA championships. Like that, right? Like, of all the sports out of baseball, you can't just flip a switch. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, hey, this season was bad, don't worry, next year's going to be great. I don't know what great is. I don't know what's a realistic expectation for the Reds next year. What does history tell us about teams who lose 100 games in the season? I mean, I'm not going to sell you on this team being good in 2022. So William says NFL has parity. Kenner, Major League Baseball simply does not. NFL has parity. Yes, I get that, but that's because of the structure of it. I know that. I'm not arguing that NFL doesn't have parity. I know. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. The NFL, it's very easy. You could flip a switch. You could be, picking the top of the draft one year and in the Super Bowl the next. We see it regularly. Maybe not every year, but at least once every 3 years, we see a team that's not supposed to be there. That was the Bengals last year. And it's just one of those things where we see that in the NFL. We see that in the NBA. We don't see that in Major League Baseball. So I understand why Reds fans are not quick to give this team any kind of forgiveness or benefit of the doubt. We gave them benefit of the doubt in the first rebuild throughout that 2013, 14, 15, and 16 stretch. They lost a lot of games. Their losses kind of mounted in the mid-90s there, and then, of course, they never reached that 100-loss mark, but they finally did that this year. 62 wins, 100 losses. And it's like, I don't know what is a fair expectation. I would love to know what the biggest turnaround is for a team that lost 100 games. What next season? What can the Reds do this offseason that'll make you at least excited for next year? Are you, as Reds fans, 518-1410, that's the question I have. Are you, as Reds fans, taking the next couple of seasons off? What do you do? Where are you going to go?
Too easy.
Because the question I have is you have to make a decision, right? Reds fans, like, you can't just sit here and bitch, moan, and complain the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe you can, I guess. That's kind of a miserable way to go about sports life. Like, that's the thing too. When your team's bad in football, you still feel energized because you're watching college football and you're keeping track of the great players in the draft and who you can get and who's going to help you the next year. You could even be a bad team and find excitement in football. You know what I mean? Like, when the Browns came off that 0-16 season, they made a lot of moves, right? They had a lot of good draft picks. As a Browns fan, that year was exciting, and I knew we were going to make the playoffs, but I was beyond excited just because there was just a buzz there. Baseball, there is no buzz. Hunter Green was arguably the biggest draft pick that the Reds have had in my lifetime, and we just now saw him, and that was from, 3-4 years ago? Like, it's hard. I don't know what the Reds can do to get us jacked and juiced and excited. Do they cut the payroll like the Guardians and just hope that they maybe win a few games to win a division? Like, it's not like I really want to know the Guardians, where they're at. Are they where they are compared to where the franchise thought they would be? Like, front office expectations and on-field results can sometimes be two different things. That's why that parody film of Major League was created. Like, they didn't want the team to win. They won. Did we just watch Major League in a very boring fashion play out with the Guardians this season? Like,
yeah, they weren't stripping the owner.
They didn't make moves. Yeah, no kidding. Maybe they were, but I don't think that would be fun for them. Excuse me. So, at some points, like, why is it that a team like the Guardians, who has their ownership take everything away from them, they continue to win? The Reds take everything away from them, and they look like a team that had everything taken away from them. Baseball is just a mean, unforgiving sport, and I think that it's tougher to be a fan of a Major League Baseball team than it is of any other team in professional sports, in my opinion.
I guess it depends on the team, because if you're a fan of the Yankees, every year that you're going to be competing because your roster is going to be stacked because that organization is just willing to spend a lot of money because they bring in a lot of money. They just signed that new deal, the new Yes Network deal. So they're bringing in a ton of money. So they're able to pay the biggest and best players. But, teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers, they use teams like the Guardians almost like farm systems. Like, we'll let you develop them. We'll let you get good. And then when they're great, they'll come to us because we're going to pay them out the wazoo. And is that something that the Reds are going to have to start doing, is just start paying and overpaying to get more talent? Because I always say, man, you can have a great manager and you can have a great front office, but talent rules the day, man. If you don't have talent, it really doesn't mean anything.
518-1410 on Facebook. And shout out to, of course, Scott Campbell. He talked about the 1990 Braves, who were 65-97, the season that the Reds won the World Series, by the way. They went 65-97, went to the World Series in 91. But I don't think that's happening to the Reds. The Reds aren't going to the World Series in 2022. So here's the deal. The next big thing on our calendar is Reds Fest, December 3rd, 2022, coming up here in a few months. And when we do that show every year, I've yet to remember a year where we've done that show and something not cool have happened beforehand, whether it be a big signing or a big move, a big trade. And is there that move that can be made to get you excited, to get you juiced for this upcoming 2023 Reds season? The one thing about baseball fans is, like, as much as we think we hate our teams during the season, we need some space. We kind of go our separate ways for about a month or two, and then we start to miss it. Is it that we miss our team, or the fact that we just miss baseball? There's something about going to Great American Ballpark, just sitting in the stands, whether it's the smell of the ballpark, the popcorn, you know what I mean, the food, just the sound of the ball game itself, just everything that comes with going to a game. I think we miss that more than we miss the Cincinnati Reds at times. Like, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we're at the point now where we don't trust the front office. Nothing they say can make us feel better. Nothing they do will make us feel better. Actually, there is one thing that they can do, and that's sell the team. That's what everyone keeps saying, right? Now, I just came across this that I disagree with this. I got to find it once again because it scrolled to the bottom. Scott Whetstone on Facebook says, hire a major league manager. Scott, I don't care. I mean, who would you consider a manager? I don't care if they take Tito from the Guardians.
Watch it.
No, like that wouldn't matter. You could bring Dusty back. It's not going to matter. Y'all don't like Dusty, which is ironic enough, because for everyone out there that said the Reds need to move on from Dusty, well, this is what moving on from Dusty looks like, because we've been looking back at Dusty ever since. Well, I'm just saying. So it is what it is at this point. But if you think David Bell, who I've always been a big critic of for years now, he's not even in the top 10 list of reasons what is wrong with this Reds team right now. If you hear me, by the way, this is how you know things are going well in Cincinnati. If I start returning to complaining about David Bell, that means there's expectations again. Scott, I know you may not be a fan of his, but he's not what's wrong with this team. He's not what's wrong with this team. He's what was wrong with this team back when they had Trevor Bauer and they had Sonny Gray and they had Luis Castillo and they had Wade Miley and they still couldn't win ball games. That was my frustration. That was my frustration when they had Mike Moustakas and they had Castellanos and they had some big league hitters and they still couldn't put the ball in play enough to be able to win ball games. Or when they would start to put the ball in play enough and make contact, he'd take him out of the lineup. Like those are the things I miss. Man, I'm getting all nostalgic there. Those were the days. So for me to be upset with David Bell, he has to have good players to take out of the lineup. He has to have good pitchers to take out of the game in the fourth and fifth inning when they're still rolling, right? So no, I disagree, Scott, that he's not the problem. He's not why they lost 100 games this year. And if you're saying that another manager would have kept them from losing 100, so what, you want them to go, win 70 games instead of 62? What's that put them at? I just said, like, I don't know what that accomplishes. There are bigger issues that this team has. Ann Anderson said, how about just a baseball fan? I love baseball, any team, anywhere. After all, I've been a Dragon season ticket holder for 20 plus years. So Scott Campbell goes, I'm just excited for Reds Fest because there hasn't been one since 2019. True. Absolutely. We're jacked to be there on the Saturday. We'll be there doing the show Saturday morning. We'll have more details as we get closer to that. But yes, I'm jacked for Reds Fest because every year come Reds Fest, that's when I get my excitement back. You know what I mean? You kind of get the feel. You're down in Cincinnati. You could kind of just get the feel of the team and everything. But it's going to be, I'm very curious, the damage control. I don't think I've ever experienced a Reds season where the ownership has a responsibility of damage control more than what they're going to have to do this offseason. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how they're going to do it. Do you not make any moves between now and December and just hope that the Reds fans forgot about where you're going to go? Does Phil Castellini make an appearance on the show with us when we're down in Reds Fest? He's always come on with us. Will he make an appearance with us when we're down there, in December? I'm very curious.
He will.
I'm very curious. what rules will we have against us? Are we allowed to ask certain things? Are we not allowed to ask certain things? These are things as a sports talk radio show I'm curious about. Because if you have nothing to be ashamed of, you don't have to put up restrictions on what we can ask and what we can do, right? Like, it'll be interesting to see what all comes with that. Gordon Gross says, unless David Bell can back clean up, he isn't the problem. I agree with you. He's not. And I used to argue with listeners all the time about David Bell, whether he's the problem or not. People used to defend him all the time. I'm defending him now. I'm not saying he's a good manager. I'm just saying he's not good or bad enough to have an impact on this team. That was my big argument about Brian Price back in the day. Everyone that was ripping Brian Price in 2015 and 14, 15, 16, or what have you, I was like, I don't know why we're beating up on Brian Price. There's not a single expectation for this team to win, yet we're mad and want him gone because they're not winning. So how can you have a single frustration with David Bell for losing games that he was not put in position to win to begin with? With expectations comes criticism. And there was no expectations this year. They set the table for us there. Here's the last thing I'll say on this. We'll get back to some football coming up. The only positives I have on this season are I feel like this is the best that the Reds have done in developing talent in my time covering or my time being a Reds fan. I thought they did a great job building that playoff team in the 2010s early on. But even then, like, they didn't have like major players like what they have now. Like Jonathan India is a legit superstar. Like, he's going to be a superstar if he keeps on this pace. Tyler Stevenson's going to be a legit superstar if he continues on this pace. All right. Nick Lodolo looks the part. He looks like he is going to be a future Cy Young winning pitcher. Hunter Green maybe didn't show the max stuff that we saw from Nick Lodolo, but Hunter Green has the makeup of a future Cy Young winning pitcher. Like, the Reds have all the pieces that they need foundation-wise, and Graham Ashcraft is an accidental development that they made. Like, that's over the years. These are the things I'm going to be looking for this season and this upcoming season and the year after that. Who are you developing? We know where our frustrations come with who they don't go get. They don't spend money. They don't do this. That's fine. If you want to be they develop them so they could trade them. If you all can retire that line, that is so old and it's exhausting, and you didn't come up with it. I love how many times people act like, oh man, I got a good one here. They're talking about the talent that the Reds have. What are they going to do? Trade them? You guys sound like bad dad jokes. Like, that's what you guys sound like. It's just a broken enough already. We know they traded Jesse Winker, which, by the way, is anyone willing to admit that they were right? Jesse Winker was horrible this year. He was horrible. You got all in your feelings this season because the Reds moved on from a guy that was horrible, who, by the way, is not even, he's injured right now, but even when he played the majority of the season, he didn't contribute at all to a playoff team. He didn't contribute at all to a playoff team. The Reds were Jesse Winker away from what? From what? I'd argue of all the names that the Reds moved on from that had the biggest impact on them was Sonny Gray. And Sonny Gray's in his 30s. It made sense to move on from him. We can't sit here and get Mike Moustakas. Didn't produce. It wasn't a bad trade, by the way. You can't get mad every time a trade is made and that player doesn't produce because there were no signs pointing towards him not producing when he got to Cincinnati. He was a big power hitter that had success in the NL Central, who was coming to a hitter-friendly ballpark. It's unfortunate that the guy continued to get more and more out of shape. He did not, he didn't love the game of baseball, and you could just tell. Maybe Cincinnati brought that out in him. I don't know, but he didn't have to come here and play. He chose to come here and play. I'm not a Mike Moustakas fan, but I give the Reds credit for being aggressive, going to get him in the first place. Castellanos, you can argue, man, maybe they should have extended. You know how much money they would have had to pay to get a guy that hit in the low 200s this year? They got all of that at a bargain for pretty much everyone on the roster already. What else did you want them to do? I'm just curious. Don't be mad at them. Don't be mad at them for not bringing back certain players. Be mad at them that the players that they let go never reached the peak level of which we needed them to be anyways to even be worth the damn. This team was supposed to be really good. Trevor Bauer was the best player that the Reds acquired over the last 10 years since that rebuild.
You're welcome.
Yes. Kind of. He'll always be remembered as one of you. I'm just saying. That is one of your team. This is what it is.
We want to Cy Young with you, though.
Gordon Gross said, in the 60-game truncated season. Oh, don't get me started.
But he was balling. Don't front. He was balling.
It's like he wins a Cy Young in the 60-game season. It's like being 2-2 against 4 backups and acting like, we're a 500 baseball team or a football team. I mean, yeah, okay. We all moved the goalpost, whatever.
You and him getting along yet?
Who? Who?
anybody.
That's Winker's the 2002 version of Hal Morris. No power, slap hitter. Look, the Reds have a lot of issues, that's for sure. Ron Broadstock says, I'd rather a guy who can hit opposite consistently than a home run hitter any day. Yes and no. I know what you're saying, but at the same time, to his point, yes, but that's just not baseball anymore.
Right.
How many guys out there are you able to build a lineup that has enough guys who can consistently hit opposite way and consistently just try to get base hits and extra base hits and play small ball? For one, that's a philosophy that starts up at the top, and that philosophy doesn't exist in baseball anymore. There is, and it doesn't matter if it exists in baseball anymore. It doesn't exist within that Reds front office. They invested millions and millions of dollars into analytics like the rest of baseball, but they live and die by those numbers, and those numbers show we need power hitters. We need power hitters. Even though when the Reds play their best baseball, it's when guys like Jonathan India, right? Jonathan India and Castellanos who had power, but Castellanos and guys like that who constantly put the ball in play were constantly leading the league, or at least at the top in the leaderboard when it came to extra base hits and driving guys in and just small ball in general. I know what you're saying, but at the same time, when the Reds are going to go after those power hitters, that's why Tyler Stevenson, that's why it's important that they keep him in the dang lineup and stop putting him at catcher. I think they need to fix that. These are things I didn't even get to with Hal that will be further in the offseason. I don't know where the Reds go from here roster-wise. It'll be interesting. All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Browns and Bengals both in action. Can you believe it's already week 5? 3 of the 4 teams in the AFC North, all 2-2, and I don't think we really know who the best is in that division. Every fan of their particular team thinks, no, we're the best. No, we're the best. Nobody knows. Yeah, Kevin knows.
It ain't my team.
Kevin knows.
It definitely ain't my team. It's all good, though.
We'll be right back.
Yo-Yo's. As our Attorney General, Dave Yost is keeping us safe.
He's protecting religious freedom. And he's fighting to lower healthcare costs. Yo, Dave Yost.
Paid for by Dave Yost for Ohio.
For you and me.
This view was worth a hike.
Right? And it's a good way to stay on top of my health.
Yes, I'm Cologuard, a prescription colon cancer screening option for people 45 plus at average risk. Have you screened for colon cancer?
Not yet.
Don't wait. It's more treatable when caught in early stages.
Tell me more.
Cologuard is non-invasive and it's used at home. It detects altered DNA in your stool to find 92% of colon cancers.
92%?
Yep, even those in early stages.
This was seen in a clinical study with patients 50 and older. Any positive result should be followed by a diagnostic colonoscopy. False positive and negative results may occur. Cologuard is not a replacement for colonoscopy in high-risk patients. Do not use if you have had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colon cancer.
Most insured patients pay $0. Ask your provider or an online prescriber if Cologuard is right for you, or visit Cologuard.com.
I'm in.
Wendy's new homestyle French toast sticks are so good, some are saying they're better than their moms. Perfectly crispy, perfectly golden brown. Try Wendy's new homestyle French toast sticks today and see if they're better than your mom's.
It's time for frickin' football. Frickers has a way to make this the winning season. Try a frickin' chicken taco, grilled chicken taco, or Mississippi barbecue taco for a limited time. Enjoy a 48-ounce personal pitcher of domestic draft beer.
I like this kind of party. I like this kind of party, baby.
All the games of college and the NFL at the place that leads the way with inflation-busting prices, everyday values, and where kids eat free. The home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
My doctor told me my blood pressure is borderline. I figured I could worry about it or do something about it. So I took control with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula. It works safely and naturally to help maintain healthy blood pressure with a custom blend of garlic, vitamins, and minerals. And it's odor-free. I'm taking charge with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to get conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life, celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Houday Nation, Betfred has come all the way from England to the great state of Ohio with over 50 years of sports betting experience. No emperors, no movie stars, just a sportsbook you can trust. The Betfred Sportsbook app will be available on January 1st, 2023. Until then, download the Bengals app or go to betfredsports.com and have a chance to win Bengals tickets and exclusive merchandise. Official sports betting partner of the Cincinnati Bengals. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
What QC Kinetics is doing for people here is nothing short of amazing. I'm talking real lasting relief from joint pain. Hey, it's Keith Byers. QC Kinetics is the nation leader in exciting new pain treatments with advanced regenerative medicine, non-surgical alternatives. If you're living with joint pain from injury or arthritis, don't let them tell you steroids and pain meds and surgery are your only options. QC Kinetics uses regenerative treatments that can restore and repair damaged tissue. Maybe you've been diagnosed with bone-on-bone arthritis and been told you need a replacement. Call QC Kinetics now for an alternative way to deal with the pain. These amazing protocols work with pain caused by injury as well, like a torn meniscus or a rotator cuff. Call QC Kinetics now. Don't keep living with that pain. Learn how regenerative medicine can give you your life back with no drugs and no surgery. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. 937-936-0325. That's QC Kinetics. 937-936-0325.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Last thing here on the baseball side of things. Gordon Gross, Jesse Winkers, you talked about the 2022 version of Hal Morris, but Scott Campbell was talking about Jesse Winkers' season this year, Kev. The guy that Reds fans based the whole season success off of, oh man, we are going to be nothing without Jesse Winker. Kev, he hit 219. Hit 219. Are we at least entertaining the idea of saying maybe the Reds front office was right? Because if you think back to last season, he also was not very good in the second half of the year either. Yeah, Damon Hahn. Winker was pretty bad in the second half of last season too. Yes, he hit about 220 as well in the second half post All-Star break. He wasn't good after the All-Star game last season, and he hit 219 this season. So Reds fans, you threw a temper tantrum. You threw the whole entire season away. You said the front office was garbage because they got rid of a guy that hit 220 this year. 219.
Get it right, Kenner.
I mean, come on. Be mad that the Reds had a bunch of guys that never reached peak max potential. Just because last year we got a glimpse of a 2.5, 3 month run of Jesse Winker with Castellanos. Castellanos also didn't have the best of seasons either. It's not as if Castellanos killed it for the Phillies this year either. I mean, like you guys were expecting what had happened last year with Castellanos and Jesse Winker. You thought that the versions of those guys were going to go out and just kill it for their other respective clubs. That's not what happened. Jesse Winker hit 219. That's who you guys are so upset about. And I don't get it. I don't know why. Let's go ahead here. I can't believe they didn't give an extension to Nick Castellanos. He hit 204. Maybe the Reds front office knew that he had a great little run with the Reds and that they need to get, move on now before it's too late. Overpay for Castellanos? What would you guys have said if Castellanos this year would have hit 204 for the team? That was in certain position. Sorry, he hit 240. 240, my apologies. He hit 240. Sorry. I thought that looked a little low when I saw that. Got excited. 240, though. You know what I mean? It's not like, what did Castellanos do this year that should have everyone? He struck out 130 times. He hit 13 home runs. 13. The old and geriatric Albert Pujols had a better season than Nick Castellanos. And you guys are mad that the Reds moved on from him. What? He struck out 130 times. I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. So I'm not that upset that the Reds, like this season, I'm not upset that the Reds did not keep Castellanos. I'm not upset that they didn't keep Jesse Winker, the two names that you all lost your minds over when the Reds moved on from him. So there it is. I'll just leave it at that as we currently sit here. Broadstock says, Suarez, I didn't want to see go. My son's favorite player, and he was just a positive guy. That's right. But, I'm also like, we say that all the time. He's just a fun guy. He's just a good guy. Win baseball games. I'm not saying go get bad guys. As a Browns fan, I see the irony in that comment, by the way. But I'm just saying, you're paid to win baseball games. The Baseball Hall of Fame, as I've always joked, it's harder to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame than it is to get into heaven. But win baseball games. And by the way, Suarez, who was considered the throw-in with Jesse Winker, had the better year. Suarez had a great year for the Mariners. So, Ron Howard, you're so two-faced. When they dealt him, you were crying. No, what I'm saying, Ron, is at the time, yes, I was upset. But what I'm willing to do now is look back and say, well, maybe they were onto something. Most people aren't willing to do that. I give my opinions based on where we're at in this today, October 5th. What time is it? 4:25, is it, Kev? Yeah, 1:26 now. Just 4:26 here on October 5th, 2022. Based on what we know today, my opinion is this. A week from now, something can change, and then my opinion will be this. So it is what it is. At that time, it seemed kind of silly to not be willing to pay Castellanos. The Jesse Winker deal, just to be clear, I have always been in favor of the Reds maybe not financially marrying him long-term. Needed to see. 2 years ago, you guys were trying to tell me he was the Reds' best hitter, the same guy that they had to take out of the lineup anytime a lefty stepped foot on the mound. You cannot say he's your team's, if in fact, maybe that was the problem. If he was your team's best hitter, that was probably the problem. If every time you got to take a guy out of a lineup when a lefty even sniffs a baseball, he's not your best hitter. Let's just be real. So, there. But thank you, Ron. Nice try, though. Appreciate you. So there's that. Scott Campbell, who you got for the World Series? I'm rooting for the Mariners. Honestly, the two biggest storylines in baseball this year. Now, you're the Guardians. I get that. The two biggest storylines in baseball this year, Albert Pujols and Aaron Judge. I would love to see an Albert Pujols, Aaron Judge, Cardinals-Yanks World Series. I think that's the only way. I mean, when was the last time you had two major stars like this be involved in two major storylines, and the only way it can make sense is for them to end the season facing off against one another. Albert Pujols against Aaron Judge, Yankees, Cardinals. That's what I'm going for. I'm also a big Dusty Baker fan, so I wouldn't mind seeing the Astros making a nice little run too.
Dang, we only coming to the top 3. Dang, Jody. That's how you doing us?
Your team's boring, dude. Like, it's like the Rays.
They play small ball. Stephen Kwan, Slap City. They got 2 power hitters in the lineup, Hosey and Naylor, and everything else is ground ball left, ground ball right, ground ball left, ground ball right. Good
Stand
pitching.
up, sit down, fight. There we go.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For me, obviously, I'm rooting for my hometown team, the Cleveland Guardians, to make it. But to see who they will want to go up against, it really doesn't matter. I would love to see them go up against the Dodgers, the mighty Dodgers, because that means they would have had to go through the Yankees, possibly the Astros, and the Dodgers. That really cements you as the best team in baseball for the season if you're able to go through a gauntlet like that, or even go through the Braves because they are defending World Series champions if they were to come out the NL again. So for me, beggars can't be choosers. When you have a team that hasn't won a World Series in my lifetime, I just want them to get back and win it. But if I was removing my fandom from the Guardians, the matchup that I will want to see the Yankees and the Dodgers.
All right, good stuff. So I am curious. We're going to stay on the baseball front. 518-1410. What's the World Series you're rooting for the most? As the postseason is officially about to get underway, the World Series matchup you want more than any other matchup, Reds fans, and I hope you're watching the playoffs. Are we doing this whole, are we going to go for the Guardians because they're an Ohio team? I don't play those rules. I didn't play that rule in the Super Bowl last year. Go Rams. Super Bowl champions. Not playing that rule this year. But I am curious.
You don't want to see me happy, man?
I want to see you happy, but I want to see my happiness first. Pujols, Judge, Yankees, Cardinals, World Series. That's the matchup I want. What about you? Kev Nash, Justin Kenner. What World Series matchup do you guys want? Are you guys Dusty Baker fans? For those of you who were smart and actually didn't want to see Dusty Baker go. For those of you out there that said Dusty's the problem, and now the Reds have had a ton of problems since moving on from Dusty, is there any remorse there? Are you guys going to pull for Dusty now? Just 518-1410. We'll be right back.
The Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Make sure your home's heating and cooling system is in shape for the season with the experts and community trusted service that you can rely on. From William Brockman & Sons Heating and Air Conditioning, we're offering exclusive savings opportunities on the new Lennox system. Call William Brockman & Sons Heating and Air Conditioning at 937-222-8638 today, or visit us online at DaytonHeatingandCooling.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. Ohio license number 14911.
Want to make tonight's dinner a true winner? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and pick up a 12-piece family meal at a great price. You'll get 12 pieces of our classic Famous Recipe Chicken that's honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and pressure-cooked just right, along with 3 of our large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. This is temptation times 12. Get the family meal that's big on flavor and on value with the 12-piece family meal. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
When I got the news, I was shocked. I was scared. I was angry. When I heard it could be treated with the right care, I was relieved. I was happy. I was given a second chance.
Urology Specialists of Ohio offers men peace of mind. 5 physicians and 5 locations. Now accepting new patients. Make an appointment with a physician that cares about your health and prevention. Urology Specialists of Ohio, Beaver Creek, Springfield, Urbana, Xenia, and London. Online at urologyspecialistsofohio.com.
Have you heard? $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring Class A CDL drivers for home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight with brand new equipment, and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, company 401k. Plus, they're now hiring recent truck driving school graduates. Apply today. Online at CordellTransportation.com. Driven to succeed.
Hi, I'm Sales Manager Jason High at Germain Honda Beaver Creek, proud recipient of the prestigious President's Award. We are your local Honda dealer, and we invite you to see our newly renovated state-of-the-art facility. You'll be amazed at our selection. And remember, all new Hondas come with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Visit us at Route 35, just east of 675, conveniently located near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Germain Honda, Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I'll see you soon.
Wendy's new homestyle French toast sticks are so good, some are saying they're better than their mom's. Perfectly crispy, perfectly golden brown. Try Wendy's new homestyle French toast sticks today and see if they're better than your mom's.
College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. The Ohio State Buckeyes, Michigan State, they kick off at 4 o'clock this coming up Saturday, and from 2:30 to 4 o'clock, College Buckeye, Jesus criminy, get your stuff together. College Football Hall of Famer, Buckeye legend Keith Byers and I will be live at Submarine House in Kettering. This coming up Saturday, we'll be going live throughout the pregame starting at 2:30 all the way up to 4 o'clock. So I'm really jacked about that to be back out at Submarine House. We were at Submarine House in Beaver Creek last Saturday. A lot of fun. It's always cool going to these different spots. And, everyone has that, their spot to go watch games. So you have, their regulars there. Their regulars there were a good time. I love the regulars that show up. This is a newer spot, the Kettering location. I started to see the regulars out there. We've become regulars out there doing the show there each week. But that spot's a fun place. If you're looking for a spot to watch Ohio State, Michigan State, and you don't want to just sit at home and whatever, come on out. Take advantage of the great food and drink specials. They got teasers. Their teaser appetizers are freaking amazing. I don't know what – it's like a cheesy potato, little fried bite. Oh, my gosh. It's literally the best. I'm starving. That's what I'm really wanting for dinner, to be quite honest. But Submarine House, Kettering, 2:30 to 4 o'clock, right up to kickoff. And then we always stay and hang out with the listeners, of course, and watch the Buckeyes. So come on out this Saturday, Submarine House, for the Buckeye pregame show with Keith Byers and myself. Yesterday, KB had asked me to golf with him yesterday. And I said, yeah. And I said, am I golfing in your group? He goes, no, I have a group. Go ahead and bring a group and we'll all go out together. And I didn't know that group included Archie Griffin.
Whoa.
It included Beanie Wells.
Whoa.
By the way, Beanie Wells, I never thought there was another running back bigger than Keith. Beanie's as big, if not bigger. Beanie's a big dude.
Akron, right? He's from Akron, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I saw the pictures, you and Archie. And then I saw.
I'm like an athlete. Him and I are the same size. I'm basically a 2-time Heisman winner, man.
A lot of Heisman trophies, a lot of rushing yards, a lot of touchdowns. And I mean, you're right, man. Archie isn't like a towering figure like KB and Beanie Wells, man. You could have played for the Buckeyes.
I'm basically an athlete. What could have been? Man, that would have been Tressel who missed out on all this. Hey, Tressel ball, I would have fit perfectly into Tressel ball. Let's just be clear. We have 17-0. It's a blowout. Get Kinner in. Just run the football, run the time off. All right. Baseball playoffs start Major League Baseball. The Reds, not in it, although they did get to play in October, so there's that, Reds fans. But the Major League Baseball playoff picture right now, again, the Guardians and the Rays kick things off in the wild card series. The Mariners and the Blue Jays. Houston, quietly, Dusty Baker, the 1 seed, of course, and then the Yankees have that 2 seed. The Yankees will await the winner between Tampa and Cleveland, and then the Mariners and the Blue Jays will go on to face Houston in that first round. The National League, stacked as always. National League, I love we were talking about parity earlier. I don't know, man. There's a lot of parity in baseball, too. It's top half heavy.
Mm-hmm.
In sports, sometimes, the NBA is top heavy. I don't think there's not parity in the NBA. I don't care. I think there's more in it now than what there used to be, but you know what I mean? Who's going to win this basketball is a little different now. Maybe it's different than in decades past. There may be some sleeper NBA Finals teams out there, but ultimately, like there's 2 or 3 teams on each side that you know who are going to be in contention for the finals. There's no Bengals that come up and surprise you like in the NFL. But baseball, I mean, like any of these teams can win a World Series.
Right.
Any of these teams. I mean, there's some that are favored, and I think 7-game series does kind of open up the door for more surprise opportunities. But, you know, the Dodgers, I mean, how many straight years did the Dodgers win the division, win 90 games, and not win a World Series? You're not promised anything. That's why I find this playoffs, especially the Braves, the Dodgers, not a whole lot of differential between those two teams. Payroll-wise, yes, the Dodgers. There's a big differential between the Dodgers and pretty much everyone in Major League Baseball, maybe other than the Yankees. But the way Houston loses some of their best players, and they're right back to being the best team in the American League, maybe in all of baseball. But the World Series matchup I want more than any other matchup. I think just the way this season has gone, the Cardinals are the 3 seed in the National League. The Yankees are the 2 seed. I just want Aaron Judge against Albert Pujols. I think from a rating standpoint, although you can argue Yankees-Dodgers would draw the biggest rating, I think that would maybe non-organically, it would just kind of happen because, hey, it's 2 big markets.
Yeah.
But I think that the biggest, you know, countrywide rating that you would get would be Albert Pujols against Aaron Judge, especially with the chase for both home run records that both of them are a part of down the stretch. I would love to see a nostalgic finish to what was a great season, especially because of those two.
And then you guys talking about Albert Pujols this being his last season. You always dream of these storybook endings, these Hall of Fame figures, these guys that are going to go down in history of the sport having those storybook endings. I mean, you know, John Elway went out on top. Jerome Bettis, even though he wasn't, you know, Jerome Bettis that he used to be, he went out on top. This would be another one of those chapters to add to it if the Cardinals were able to make it to the World Series.
Ron Broadstock says, go Guardians.
Yes, sir.
Ron, who do you want the Guardians to play? The Guardians ain't getting to the World Series.
Oh!
I take it back. When I said any of these teams get there, the Guardians ain't getting there. The little engine that can't. I mean, they got here, but, you know, someone's got to get there from that crappy division they play in. My goodness. I mean, go Guardians.
Oh,
by the way, Ron, do you do that whole Ohio versus the world thing? The Guardians were in it and the Reds were in it. Would the Reds be who you go for?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's what I thought. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. I'm not being a hater. Ron Howard, Houston, LA rematch of trash can games. I don't think he's joking. I think like the animosity there.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Just because everyone loves a villain. Houston has lost a few of those villains from that time. But again, Houston, LA, there would be that storyline there that I think would be very intriguing. Absolutely. Matt Sturgeon, he's talking about our Reds conversation from earlier. The Reds were absolutely right not signing those guys, or those 3. I'm assuming you're talking about Sonny Gray as well. But Sonny Gray, Jesse Winker, and Castellanos. He goes, but where they failed was putting together a remotely competitive team. When you're rebuilding, though, the whole purpose is to not put together a remotely competitive team. If you're going to rebuild. If you're going to be bad, be bad. This is why I rolled my eyes at that Dolphins storyline from last year when everyone was just appalled at the fact that, oh, man, they offered to pay the coach to lose football games. Well, I mean, my goodness, look at the bad teams. I mean, Mike Tomlin's getting paid this season. What? What? Is Mike Tomlin supposed to say, hey, you only pay me to win football games? And is he going to hand back checks every time they lose? No. Teams that are rebuilding, that's just part of it. That's why I never understood this whole, and like the holier than thou approach everyone had. I can't believe that the coach was going to get paid to lose games. Every coach of a losing team is being paid to lose. Every coach of a team that's, rebuilding. I mean, my goodness. I mean, you look around the NFL, look at the Houston Texans, Lovie Smith. Does he look at his team owners and say, oh, man, thanks for getting me the Super Bowl caliber roster. I can't wait to get to work. No, he knows they're rebuilding. He knows they ain't positioned to win. So should these coaches just not coach until they have it? Maybe they should, by the way. If these coaches just say, hey, I'm not coaching the damn game. These players are going to play a game until you put a remotely, competitive team out there. But, it's part of it. It's part of it. So I've never understood that. But where were we with this? Oh, yes, I knew I got distracted with that. Matt Sturgis said where they failed was putting together a remotely competitive team. I don't want a remotely competitive team. You can argue that maybe the Guardians, who were trying to put this team in position to, I don't know, maybe rebuild, lose some games, get some top draft capital to be able to stock the minor leagues, which they've never had an issue of having a stacked minor system, right? But, maybe the Guardians team has screwed them over. Making the playoffs screwed the ownership. What are you trying to do? Win ball games, make the playoffs. We get crappy draft picks, crappy players. Now we can't stockpile draft picks to trade for anything worthwhile. Damn you, Kev. Damn your team.
Don't damn me.
Believe they did this. No, if
Get rid of Tito, and then you won't have these problems.
But to Sturgeon's point, you're right, though. Because every time he's there, the expectation is to win.
Exactly.
And it's kind of like with the Steelers. I look at Tito and Mike Tomlin's kind of being similar. As long as they're on the sideline or in the dugout, you're going to be winning games, right? Like in baseball, it's rare. I don't know many teams that rebuild with a top name manager.
Right. So
it's like as long as Tito's there, they're not rebuilding. Like he's too big of a name to sit here and say, I'm going to give you 3 years to turn this around. No. So that's a good point. Same thing with Tomlin. Like as long as he's there, they're not rebuilding, but maybe he would. But football's different though, because it's so quick.
Very quick.
Yeah. So either way. All right. 518-1410. Who we got? Jesse. What up, Jesse?
Hey, is this the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash, sponsored by Brad Mays on 1410 Wing AM?
Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. He's not sponsoring it right now, but figured he'd love the shout out. But yes, what's up?
Okay, well, I was getting ready to enjoy a delicious cheesesteak at Submarine House at their new location in Kettering.
There you go. Keep it going, man. Keep it going. Who else we got? Here we go.
Hit all our sponsors.
Yeah. Did I get them all?
I think you got them all. I think you got them all.
Well, I figured I'd call in with some, exciting baseball talk real quick.
All right.
I kind of agree with you on the St. Louis Yankees. That would probably be the best ratings. But since I hate both of those teams, I would have no rooting interest. I would just be miserable the whole time. So I think St. Louis and the Guardians, since they are an Ohio team, even being a Reds fan, I think that would be best for me. Really, in all reality, I wish the Mariners and the Tampa Bay Rays could play each other in the World Series, just so the ratings would be so bad and it would just make baseball suffer.
That would be like the equivalent to years ago when the Spurs and the Pistons met in the NBA Finals. I mean, that was just absolutely brutal as far as that's concerned. Jesse, where do you fall on if your Ohio team's not in it? Do you go for the other Ohio team?
Yeah, I do. When you guys played Pittsburgh, I mean, it might have just been because the Browns were playing Pittsburgh. I ended up scraping my hand on the ceiling when you guys won. I was so pumped.
Oh,
so yeah,
I mean,
I
knew you were a Browns fan.
If the Browns went to the Super Bowl, I wouldn't care who they were playing. I mean, but
you're a better person than me.
They could be playing 53 Jeffrey Dahmers, and I would have chose the other team. But against the Steelers, yes, I kind of, and the Guardians, they kind of deserve it. I don't really follow the NBA too much until the finals. They already got theirs. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm a homer. Reds, Dayton, Ohio State. But yeah, if Cleveland's in it, why not? I mean, I ain't got nothing else to root for.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for not following me around today. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, you get ready, bub.
What do you say?
You get ready, buddy.
Yeah, making that Dahmer joke, and then you're saying that's not weird or anything, Jesse. Weirdo. No, he's not. The other day, all of a sudden I just hear my name. I'm pumping gas. He goes, Kenner. I look around. I'm like, oh, it's Jesse. What up, Jesse? I just met him 2 weeks ago at Submarine House. He popped out, which, by the way, if you're not doing anything this Saturday, we'll be live at Submarine House. If you want to pop on out like Jesse did, got to put a face with the name, of course, that's always fun to see at Submarine House. All right, I'm transitioning over to college football, by the way. A lot of big matchups in college football. Kev, have you thought about, because you're off tomorrow, so I have to cram everything into the last couple minutes of the show today, but have you thought about your upset pick? Who is your upset for college football? As we sit right now, I know I'm just throwing this at you based on the batting of the eyes, but I mean, a lot of interesting matchups. I'm going to give you an upset alert about LSU and Tennessee. Tennessee is your team that you believe is going to beat Alabama, but Tennessee's not your sleeper team to come out of the SEC into the college football playoff, or are they?
No, they're not.
LSU.
Yeah, I could definitely see LSU beating Tennessee because Tennessee's defense is a little sus, but man, that LSU offense hasn't been clicking. They got Kayshon Boutte, who's a real good receiver. They got a lot of good weapons, but that offensive line, and they just haven't been able to run the ball. So I still think that Tennessee is going to be able to get that dub over them. But yeah, I still believe that Tennessee will beat Alabama in 2 weeks for sure.
The other one I have here, another interesting matchup, and we'll talk upsets too throughout this, but Kansas, TCU. Kansas, I'm very fascinated by, because I think right now they're 5-0. If any SEC team is 5-0, they're automatically highly ranked because it's the SEC.
Right.
Kansas isn't getting that love, and rightfully so. It's a basketball school. We don't really associate Kansas with football, but they're 5-0. They're at home. They got TCU coming in, top 25 opponent, number 17 in the country. They beat TCU. They have to get, I mean, how far up do you think that they move? Are they a top 10 team in the country if they beat top 25 TCU this coming up weekend?
They'll jump to the top 15 with a win, and then they can maybe sneak into the top. Either of those teams are going to be in the top 15 because TCU is 17. I think TCU is going to work them, by the way. But they'll need some people around them or ahead of them to lose to be able to get to the top 10 next week.
All right, moving on. Again, continuing to go down the list. Now, Arkansas 3-2. They fell out of the top 25. They're on the road at number 23, Mississippi State, the big SEC matchup right there. I don't know if this is necessarily an upset, I guess, but Arkansas not as explosive as a year ago.
Right.
Technically, do they pull off the upset of the unranked versus the ranked?
I think they can. You're right about that offense. KJ Jefferson and, Treylon Burks, who's now with the Titans. You were expecting Jaden Henderson or Hazelwood, that transferred there from Oklahoma to step into that role, and he just hasn't. He hasn't been able to provide those big plays down the sidelines that Burks did, so they've been relying heavily on the run game. But I think that Arkansas can get them because they play some good man-to-man defense and, tons of crossing routes from Mississippi State. So if I could pick one, I would go with Arkansas because they're coming off, 2 straight losses, so they're bound to rebound eventually, right?
Texas A&M, Alabama. CBS, it's an 8 o'clock kickoff. It's a big one coming up, or at least it was supposed to be a big one. I'm not defending your old coach, Jimbo, here. But I am going to set rules for when it comes to taking shots at Texas A&M. I'm not a Texas A&M aficionado. But you know what you're not allowed to do? I don't know if you understand how recruiting works. I'm looking at you, but I'm not talking to you. I don't know if people understand how recruiting works. But if you have the top-rated 2022 recruiting class, that just means you brought in a bunch of kick-ass freshmen. And very rarely does a group of incoming freshmen make an impact on a team that season. Very rarely.
Right.
You might have some impact players here or there that might, you know what I mean? That might, if coaches have it their way, even if they are true, legitimate, badass 5 stars, they don't want to start true freshmen, especially at this level,
right.
The SEC. Ohio State doesn't want to do it if they don't have to. The SEC doesn't want to do it if they don't have to. So if you want to criticize Jimbo, fine. If you want to criticize Texas A&M, fine. But y'all need to stop with these dumb memes that are like, oh, I thought you had the number 1 recruiting class. Do you realize how dumb you sound that has nothing to do with the other? Do you realize that the players that they brought in technically have nothing to do with this? If this group a year from now, 2 years from now is pulling stuff like this, if Jimbo's still here, he doesn't get the someone treatment, right? Then we have concerns. I don't know what the expectation for Texas A&M may have been higher because they beat Alabama last year, and because of the fact that they had all the momentum in recruiting coming into this season for this year's class, and because he was being kind of looked at as a hero because he had the cojones to speak up to Nick Saban and want to fight Nick Saban. That was one of the big offseason storylines. Texas A&M, I may have fell for all the hype with everything surrounding them, with them, beating Alabama last year, the recruiting hype, the offseason battle between him and Saban. I bought into it. But if you read anything about this team was supposed to be very, very average this year anyways. So why are we holding Texas A&M to this standard that technically the expectation wasn't for them to be anything other than what they've been? I'm very interested in them heading into this matchup with Alabama, though, because it would be the most college football thing ever and the most Jimbo Nick Saban thing ever for Texas A&M to get a win over Alabama and then still lose 2 to 3 more the rest of the way and playing some crap bowl game. How do you see this unfolding and your thoughts on what I just said?
Woo, this is about to get ugly. This is about to get so ugly, and it's going to get even
by 50.
I'm not going to say 50,
60.
but I'm going to say at least
70.
27. Bama by 27.
First
I say
quarter?
they cover. They're going to cover, and it's just simply because A&M can't move the ball, at all. Plain and simple. They can't move the ball, and it's not because they don't have good talent. It's because that Jimbo Fisher doesn't take the easy stuff. There's easy plays there to be made. He wants all these quarterbacks to be Jameis Winston. I know Jameis Winston is a punching bag in the NFL. I know E.J. Manuel's career didn't pan out in the NFL. I know Christian Ponder's NFL career didn't pan out. I know Jamarcus Russell's career didn't pan out. But guess what those dudes did in college? They were ballers in college. And everything that those dudes did in college, it translated to their Wonderlic score. Those dudes are super smart and super analytical. That's a handful of guys that can actually process an NFL offense at the college level. You know what they're running at college? College football plays. Tons of crossing routes. Just bubble screens. You don't do that in Jimbo Fisher's offense. He wants you to step back and scan the field and read it like you're Joe Montana. Not going to happen. Not going to happen with this talent level that they have at A&M right now. So they're going to continue to lose games, and they maybe will make a bowl game because they still got a lot of dogs on defense. But what A&M fans and what A&M Aggie people got to worry about is the transfer portal and decommits. Once dudes start decommitting, once you get blown out by Alabama this weekend by 30-plus points, and then you go to South Carolina and possibly lose to Mississippi State, you go on a losing streak of 4 games, that's when dudes are going to be saying, I've decided to decommit from Texas A&M. I am officially open for business. And then what happens when the season ends? I'm entering the transfer portal. So once all that madness happens, that's when Jimbo will truly be on the hot seat. Right now, it's not hot. But you keep on losing games and you lose those star recruits and you lose those guys that you just got that haven't even played for you yet. That's when things will start getting bad for Jimbo.
Yes and no. I definitely agree with you on that. But at the same time, I would have agreed with that more with the old recruiting model of, hey, we're coming here because we feel like there's some positive momentum. We feel like he's lost some of that momentum, but they're not there for any Texas A&M on-field momentum. They went to Texas A&M. What changed? Oh, yeah, NIL. NIL is why they're there. I'm not saying that there's no chance a player wouldn't decommit or what have you, but the bottom line is, let's be real. If the on-field product was the only thing that these kids were basing their decision to go to Texas A&M off of, then I would agree with you. They might be in trouble. I think that these kids are coming here for not just the NIL, but the NIL plays a huge role in it, and they're looking around at their counterparts, seeing that they came here for NIL as well, but also with the mindset of sometimes it could work in reverse. We got all our money. We know how good we are if we stay together. I think that that's what – I mean, I think that they look over and they see all this other talent that came with them. I think that's what keeps them there. I'm not saying that things can't just continue to get worse and that could lead to that, but I don't know. I definitely see where you're coming from, but I also feel like that mindset I would agree with more in the old recruiting model. With this, it's a little different. They didn't come here for the positive momentum of the on-field stuff. They came here for the momentum of the name, image, and likeness, money. They also see that it brought a ton of talent with them. They put it all together. Who cares about the start to this season? They feel like they're going to be a part of the solution to the future. But the thing is, people keep bringing up that was someone who had the same record or worse or a better record technically to this point. But the difference between someone and him, it's the recruiting. This recruiting class coming in is why this record doesn't matter. He can lose a couple more. It doesn't matter as long as this recruiting class, technically, I guess to your point, stays intact.
They stay intact. Right. They're fine. But my thing is they got some high-level offensive players. You think for 1 second that Lincoln Riley ain't saying, I just got Jordan Addison. He just showed up in August. He's about to win the Biletnikoff again. You think those receivers aren't seeing what they're doing? You think these receivers aren't seeing like, wow, hold on. You mean to tell me Florida State has been trashed the last 3 years? They jump in the recruiting portal, get some dude we never heard of, and he's balling out of control and jumping up draft boards. You mean to tell me Ohio State is getting all these dudes to the NFL and I'm just sitting here waiting? Jimbo Fisher hasn't had a wide receiver drafted into the NFL since 2014. So defensively, I think they'll be fine. As an offensive guy, I would be worried if I'm an offensive playmaker. If I'm a dude that has the ball in my hands, a la quarterback, running back, wide receiver, I would be worried. Offensive lineman, hey, you can handle your own business. Defensive guys, you can handle your own business. If I'm a wide receiver and I'm a high-level athlete looking to go there and to play wide receiver, I'm really reconsidering saying, hey, man, because if I'm a 5-star, that means there's other programs out there willing to say, hey, you know, we'll make room for you. Like, you rather go play for Jimbo, who hasn't had a wide receiver drafted in the NFL since 2014, or come to USC, or go to Bama, or come to Ohio State, or go to name your other place that has put more guys in the NFL at the wide receiver position than he has in the last 7 years? That's alarming.
Another interesting matchup this Saturday, Texas, Oklahoma. Quinn Ewers making his return. He was really kind of the face of the real. He was the face. Quinn Ewers is the face of the first big NIL decision. I mean, he's the first athlete that lets NIL play a role in his decision of where to go. Of course, enrolling early at Ohio State, taking advantage of that early year at Ohio State to kind of get the college underneath his feet a little bit. Then went to Texas, looked really great to start. What could have been if he stays healthy against Alabama. Alabama probably has one loss heading into this Texas A&M matchup. That's for sure. But It's crazy. Two non-top 25 teams, Texas and Oklahoma. I think the first time, and they said 30, 40 years since that's happened. Very interesting. I don't know what's happening in Oklahoma, but I heard Colin Cowherd say it earlier today. If you are a coordinator that gets your first head coaching job, and what you are known for is what you are the worst at, that's a problem about the future. Venables, his run in Oklahoma could be very, very short because they should be great defensively and average to below average offensively, just based on what you know about Venables and who he is. But the fact that what you're known for is what you regressed at, even with the transfer portal, making your defense better on paper than what it was last year, that's a problem. But I think Quinn Ewers in Texas, I think they eat on Saturday.
I think they win. I don't necessarily think it's going to be an eating situation. I think it's going to be another good game. I mean, that Red River rivalry, it's always a good game. No matter if there is one good team and the other team is bad, it's always entertaining. It's always high flying. It's always one of those must-watch games. It really hasn't gotten to the point where the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry got to where one team is just blowing the other out no matter what. And most of the time over the last 15 years, it's been Ohio State handling the business over Michigan. But in that matchup, no matter how bad the team from Texas is, they come for that game. They come to play in that game. And this is crucial for both teams. This is crucial. I mean, Oklahoma's coming off of 2 straight losses, giving up over 100 points in those games. So this is a must-win situation for Oklahoma. And obviously, like you said, for Texas, they got a lot along the line as well. You want to start winning some ball games. I don't think people are going to start decommitting from Texas because I think they're headed in the right way. But you want to get that win. You want to get that win over Oklahoma. So it's going to be one of those good ones.
All right. And my upset of the weekend as you head out because you're off tomorrow. You ready for this one?
Uh-oh. Don't.
You remember that movie we talked about? Oh, no, that was not you. I talked about that. There's a certain movie that I've never seen. That
You're not even a movie guy.
I'm not a movie guy. It's a basketball movie, an old school basketball movie that everyone and their mother has watched.
Hoosiers.
I don't care about Hoosiers. I don't care about the movie
Gene
Hoosiers.
Hackman.
I don't care about the movie Hoosiers, but I'm very interested in the Hoosiers, not the Hoosiers movie, but the Hoosiers, Indiana, upsetting the Maize and Blue.
I can't go with you there.
Why not?
I can't go with you there, man. I can't go with you there. I would love for it to happen. Don't get it wrong. I would love for it to happen.
Man,
the first potential loss for the team up north is versus Penn State next week.
When they actually really play somebody.
Well, they can't do anything about their conference schedule. Now that Hawaii, UConn stuff, yeah, we can talk about that. Conference schedule is conference schedule. No, I think Michigan handles business at first. The boys out there in Indiana.
All right, here's the deal. Sports betting is not live. Sports betting is not live here in the state of Ohio yet. But if it was, I would hope all of you have the FanDuel app. And if you haven't downloaded the FanDuel app, I highly suggest you do because you got to get ready, Ohio. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, is coming to the Buckeye State. And to kick things off, you can get started with $100 in free bets as an early sign-up bonus. Now, when you sign up today, you can use my promo code KINNER, KINNER. New customers, if you have not downloaded that FanDuel app and you want to create an account, do it right now. KINNER. Use my last name as the promo code, and you will get $100 in free bets so that when things kick off January 1st, 2023, you have $100 in your account just waiting for you, just ready to start placing bets left and right. So make sure you take advantage of that. Download FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, and super easy to use. Ohio, Dayton, come on. This is your chance to get in on the action. Join today with promo code KINNER, KINNER. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So sports betting may not be legal right now, but if it was, I would get out my phone. I would click on the FanDuel app. I'd go right to that Indiana-Michigan matchup, and I'd put all my money on the Hoosiers. That's my upset pick of the weekend. Right there. Right there. We close out the hour. 518-1410. Kev, who is up?
It is the one, the only, Shaw.
Oh, geez, he definitely ain't gonna agree with this one. Shaw, I'm sure you're downloading that FanDuel app using the promo code KINNER right now to potentially place that Indiana bet, aren't you?
No, are we going over under or are we going against the line?
No, we're going straight up. It's just that Indiana take care of it. They're pulling up the upset.
No, you're straight up, then you're more delusional than you normally are.
Well,
against the 24-point spread, yeah, okay, then maybe we'll have something to talk about.
Okay, but
Straight
Sean,
up,
do you realize like upsets are upsets for a reason? Of course. I mean, you know, everyone
This
in the
isn't
history.
even
Do you
like
realize
this,
that everyone in
dude,
the history of the
come on,
world that has predicted an upset has had someone like Shaw Collins? Oh, you're delusional. Then the upset happens, and then does that person come back and say, "Okay, you were delusional"? I would know. It's an upset. So of course, the team I picked to win is a dog. I mean, of course.
There's dogs and then there's dogs. And this is like borderline
soundbite,
psychosis for you.
Psychosis. That is funny.
This is borderline psychosis for you.
Okay.
Like, come on, dude. Like, really.
What happens if
Indiana,
they win?
team,
What happens if what are you gonna
637 yards given up against Nebraska last week. 637.
Okay.
And
Upset.
they're gonna upset Michigan this week.
Well, every upset is an upset for a reason. Things happen that normally wouldn't happen, but they're
You
going to
could have
happen this
picked
weekend.
you could have.
It is on the road, though, Shaw.
Go Hoosiers!
You could have picked any game in this country, and you chose that one. Gee, I wonder why. Could it be because you're an Ohio State fan and one of your number one callers is a Michigan fan?
First of all, we don't
Let's
rank callers,
think
but if
about
we
that
did,
one
you would
for a
not be
minute.
number one. I would say you would be
I
unranked.
said one of.
No, you're unranked. You're the Indiana. You are the Hoosiers in this competition.
Oh, and I got another bone to pick with you about something you said earlier this week, and I didn't have a chance to
All
talk
right,
to you
let's
about
hear it. Let's go.
Comparing Christ to Harbaugh is about as delusional as you picking.
I know it is
Indiana over
delusional. I mean, Chris won more games. He won more bowl games. I mean, I felt bad even comparing Harbaugh to him.
He coaches.
If I'm Chris, I'd be offended that I even brought up Harbaugh.
He coached in the West.
Uh-huh.
Wisconsin would hope they had a coach like Harbaugh.
Really?
Harbaugh would have won the division and been to the Big Ten championship long before if he was coaching in the West.
Oh, so you're admitting that
Really?
he was in the weaker side.
Really? They're not the weaker side?
Oh man! Look. The bottom line is Wisconsin.
Northwestern.
Yeah, no. Wisconsin just cares about winning more. They have higher standards than your program does. That's as simple as that.
But on a bigger scale on this, seriously, this is what's wrong with college football. You're going to fire a guy like this? You're going to fire a guy like this? This is what's wrong with college football. Who does Wisconsin think they are? They're not Nebraska. They're not Ohio State. They're not Notre Dame. They're not USC. They're not LSU. They're not any of these big boy programs. They were exactly who they were. They're a 10-win program, 9 to 10-win program. They're going to have a great team every 2 to 3 years. They're a power running team. They're a Midwest team. They are not going to be competing against Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and all them for top 5 recruits. They're not going to be. They never will be. They never have been. And you're going to fire this coach?
Well, to be fair,
I hope what
I read on that, it was a lot of angst with he did not like how college football has transitioned into this name, image, and likeness ordeal where he had to kind of kiss the ring of boosters. Everything that we had talked about when it came to boosters before this NIL thing really took off was if boosters and certain NIL donors are giving money to players with certain expectations and those players aren't playing, you know what I mean? Like then we start talking about the pressure that mounts on coach. I heard Joel Klatt talk about this on Colin's show just the other day, that a lot of it had to do with the relationship that he had with boosters and not being willing to kiss the ring because he felt that the boosters had more power than than he himself. That I can get down with. That's what we were kind of waiting for, is how much money, how much power do these boosters have when they give up their money to give to these players and these players aren't playing or aren't playing well. And then they tried bullying the coaches around of how to handle it with this. I'm with him on this. I mean, Joel Klatt brought up the fact too, that how many times out there when a coach gets fired, do they agree to take less? When a coach gets fired, they're going to milk every dime out of that school on their buyout.
Mm-hmm.
He agreed to take less on the buyout for a more mutual of parting of ways. It wasn't a true firing. It was more of he wasn't willing to do what was being asked, and it was kind of just a mutual separation, if you will. But I do understand what you're saying, but I don't think it had anything to do with the expectations of that. It had more to do with the way college athletics is changing right now with the NIL.
Where I disagree with him taking less money is he knows he's going to go take another job somewhere. He's going to make multi-million-dollar somewhere else, and he doesn't want the tax problem.
Yeah, he's the second best coach of the Big Ten.
Okay. But Wisconsin was who they were. And he's the last bit of Alvarez. And I believe the AD wanted to make his name, and he wanted Alvarez out of the building. So he got rid of his dude the first chance he got. And he wants to see if Leonard is anything. And he's got now 7 games to make a run here to see if they have anything in Leonard, or they're going to lose him to someone else. I think that's what it was about more than anything else. I think the booster. Yeah.
Oh no, Jesse Terry says that if Shaw is unranked amongst callers, that he must be Division II, and this just sparked a very good idea. When Kev comes back next week, we are going to have the fans and the listeners of the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash fan rankings. I'm going to make a ranking, and I'm curious where you're going to fall on that.
Just remember who brought it up.
Oh, touche.
Yeah, the guy that's the fan of the team that's about to get upset by the Hoosiers this Saturday. Shaw, hope to see you this Saturday at Submarine House. I would love to see you at Submarine House, Shaw, so I can see the look on your face when Indiana upsets that team up north. That's my upset of the week. So your upset of the week is what?
My upset of the week is there won't be a big upset. It's gonna be stand pat. It's gonna be pat this weekend.
Okay, which one's more likely to happen? Texas A&M beating Alabama, or Indiana, the Hoosiers beating that team?
Neither one of them are going to happen.
No.
But
okay.
Neither one of them are going to happen. But more likely, Indiana would beat Michigan before Texas A&M. Yeah, their starting quarterback, Texas A&M starting quarterback. Where is the article I just saw? Texas A&M quarterback Max Johnson has a broken bone in his hand and is out for the rest of the season. Haynes King is back at starting quarterback. You know, the guy that he replaced because they couldn't score more than 10 points versus App State. Oh, yeah. It's about to get ugly.
Texas A&M might be saying Alabama on Saturday. King me. There you go.
Not a chance.
Jesse, I'm going to come out with the listener rankings. And Shaw, you're a preseason All-American. You're not going to make the rankings on the first one, just so you know.
Wow.
Justin says the Great American will be number one.
We haven't heard from him.
Steve from Springboro is a legend. He'll always be number one. In fact, the very first rankings that come out, Steve from Springboro right there at the top because he is a Browns fan, and I show preferential treatment to Browns fans.
At least you can
How
admit
many
it.
Bengals fans are going to be on this top 10?
Where is Charlie?
That's a good question.
Charlie
would be in the top 10. Charlie's a top 10. He's a championship contender. He's a heavyweight contender. He would be right there at the top. But Charlie, we haven't heard from Charlie.
Where's Dickie?
Dickie has to be at the top of those call-in rankings as well. I can't wait to put this list together. And it's going to include it all. It's going to include people who call in, who interact on the social media side of things. Pam, I found out, by the way, there was about a year or two ago that a very friendly, who wasn't friendly, but I know she's a nice lady, mainly because she's the mom of someone we work with who we did not know we work with until the other day when he called us out, that a lady named Pam called in to scream at us because we said some questionable things about Matthew Stafford. Come to find out, Pam, we work with her son here at All Alpha Media. Luckily, we were nice. Kevin, you know how he is mean to everyone. I'm always nice and respectful to our callers. Can't wait to put this ranking system together. Ann Anderson, she has to be in there. Where would you put Ron Howard?
Oh, Ron about 8.
Ron's an 8.
Ron about 8.
You're 8. You know, you got to pull off a few upsets. John Slade's is
wait. Ron is sitting on the outside of the top 10 because he has cussed on the air more than once. More than once.
That is true. Matt Sturgeon.
And he's a Tampa Bay Rays fan, and my team is playing him starting on Friday. So, Ron is on the outside looking in the top 25. I'm sorry.
Scott Campbell, he's a regular contributor to the show. In fact, most days he always starts the show with good afternoon or just something friendly. He always brings positivity to a show that is made famous for all my negativity. So
Packers fan Tim.
Yeah, Packers fan Tim, who keeps me honest. Packers fan Tim has to be in the running. I can't. This top 10 is going to be, and every week it's going to change just based on who contributed that week. If you're not calling in, if you're not commenting on the chat section, I don't know.
Doug?
Yes.
Doug. Just Doug.
Who's Doug?
You know who Doug is.
No, I can't.
Yeah, exactly. Just Doug. That's why I said just
did
Doug.
Did he call himself that?
Not when I was here, but
Oh.
just Duck.
Just
That's
Duck.
what I call him,
All
just
right.
Duck.
There's Cool Paul. Paul Wilcox, Mr. Cool Paul, when he'd call in. There was another Paul that would always call in and just be the worst. And then this guy would call in. He goes, my name, because one time he called in, his name was Paul. I said, oh, God, it's Paul. He goes, no, it's Cool Paul. So Cool Paul, always been a fan of Cool Paul.
What
All
about
right.
Chris Schlott?
He's a wild card. He's been around since the very beginning. It's a pain in my ass, but every once in a while he's still choosing. He's a wild card. But I think Steve from Springboro has to be number one. He's right now preseason number one. This is the preseason. Jesse says he's got to break the top 10. Ron Howard just flipped me off, so there you go. Ron, you're not doing yourself any favors there, buddy. He did cuss though.
No, you don't say.
So we're going to come up with what's going to lead to these top 10 listener rankings. It's going to it can't just be a call. You have to interact on social media. It has to be well-rounded. You have to contribute to the show in a well-rounded way. But just when we're not on from 3 to 6, are you interacting throughout the day on social media when we post? I like this. There's a criteria. We're going to come up with the criteria for the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash top 10 fan rankings. There we go. Now we just need 10 fans. All right. We'll be right back. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash when we come back. Where's Steve from Springboro? Oh.
I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
According to labor statistics, there are over 37,000 jobs in the Dayton region going unfilled. Many are good-paying jobs, essential to our society, that do not require a college degree. Find the career path that's right for you and your bank account. Go to BeTheEssential.com. There you'll find links to trade schools and career tech centers that can train you in a fraction of the time and cost. It's also where you'll find caring companies willing to provide a fulfilling career that can last a lifetime. Find your future, not just a job. Go to BeTheEssential.com.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering 100%